welcome to section 9.7, special right triangles. The objective is to identify side lengths of 30, 60, 90 and 45, 45, 90 triangles. This is a 2-day section. For day 1, we'll be working out of the book, page 408 to 409, 1 to 11, and on day 2, we'll be doing a worksheet. For 30, 60, 90 triangles, there exists a relationship between the sides of 30, 60, 90 triangles. The hypotenuse of the right triangle is double the side opposite the 30-degree angle, and the side opposite the 60-degree angle is square root 3 times bigger than the side opposite the 30 angle. This picture right here, I refer to as our generic. You need to copy this picture down. Okay? Everything stems from your 30 side. Your 30 side is always going to be your x. Everything stems from this side. If you know your 30 side, you know your 90 side because you double it. If you know your 30 side, you know your 60 side because you take the root 3. For our 45, 45, 90 triangles, there exists a relationship between the sides of the 45, 45, 90 triangle. The side opposite the right angle is square root 2 times bigger than the side opposite the 45-degree angle. So just like in our last one, everything is going to stem from our 45 side. We have 2 congruent angles, which means we have 2 congruent sides. If we know our 45 side, to get to the 90 side and find its measure, we just multiply it by the square root of 2. So let's try some examples together. For our first example, we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, which is isosceles. If across from one 45 is 5, across from the other 45 is also 5. To get from my 45 side to my 90 side, I multiply it by root 2. So I get 5 root 2. For my next one here in the middle, I have a 30, 60, 90. The first thing I need is my 30 side, which I have. Across from the 30-degree angle is my 3. To get from my 30-degree side to my 60-degree side, I multiply it by root 3. 3 root 3. And back to the 30 side. Everything stems from my 30 side. To get from my 30 side to my 90 side, I double it. Y is 6. For my next example, I don't know what my 30-degree side is. That's something I need to find. I do know my 90 side is 10. Now to get from my 30 to my 90 side, I times it by 2. So to go in reverse, I would divide by 2. So y is 5. And to get from my 30 side to my 60 side, I multiply it by root 3. For my next example, I have a 45, 45, 90. And I don't know either of my 45 sides. So let's think. To get from my 45 to my 90 side, I would have to multiply by root 2. So to go in reverse, I would divide by root 2. Those root 2's cancel each other out, and it leaves me with x and y are both 4. For my last example, I have a 30, 60, 90 side, and again, I don't know that 30 side. But I do know my 60 side. To get from my 30 to my 60 side, I multiply by root 3. So going in reverse, I would divide by root 3. The root 3's cancel out, I'm left with x is 8. To get from my 30 side to my 90 side, I double it. My y is 16. These were the easy examples. Let's get a little bit harder. So here we go, some more difficult examples. For our first one, we have a 45, 45, 90. Whatever's opposite 145, same thing as opposite my other 45. 7 root 2 is my x. The same pattern is going to apply, so you have to remember that. To get from my 45 side to my 90 side, I multiply it by root 2. Now show my work up here. 7 root 2 times root 2 is 7 root 4. The square root of 4 is a perfect 2, so I'm going to scratch it off and write down times 2. And 7 times 2 is 14. For my second one, my 30 side is 5 root 3. To get from my 30 side to my 60 side, I multiply it by root 3. So here's my work. 5 root 3 times root 3 is 5 root 9. Square root of 9 is a perfect 3, so I'm going to scratch it off and write down 3. And 5 times 3 is 15. To get from my 30 side over to my 90 side, I multiply it by 2. 5 root 3 times 2 is 10 root 3 for y. For my third one, I'm missing that 30 side, so that's my first objective. So let's think. To get from my 90 side back to my 30 side, I divided by 2. So let's do that. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Square root 6. And to get from my 30 side to my 60 side, I times it by root 3. 3.5 root 6 times the square root of 3 is 3.5 root 18. Simplify the square root of 18. It's 9 times 2. Square root of 9 is 3. And 3 times 10.5. Sorry, I gave away the answer. 3.5 times 3 is 10.5. Square root 2 for x. My fourth one. I know across from my 90 is 18. I need that 45 side first. That's where it's going to stem from. So we think, to get from my 45 to my 90, I times it by root 2. So let's do the opposite. Here's my work. 18 divided by root 2, we know we can't leave that. Multiply the top and bottom by root 2. That gives me 18 root 2 over root 4. Square root of 4 is a perfect 2, so I scratch it off, write down 2, and compare those outside numbers. 18 and 2, which is going to reduce to give me 9 root 2. My x is 9 root 2, and it's across the 45 side. My y is going to be the same thing, 9 root 2. My last one, a 30, 60, 90. Again, I need that 30 side first. I know the 60 side. To get from a 30 to a 60, I times it by root 3, so let's do the reverse. Here's my work. I need to divide that 9 by root 3. We know we can't leave that. So times root 3 to top and bottom, that gives me 9 root 3 over root 9, which we know is a perfect 3. Scratch it off, write a 3. And again, like in the last example, compare those outside numbers. 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3 root 3 for my x. Now, to get from my 30 side to my 90 side, I just double that. 3 root 3 times 2 is going to give me 6 root 3. Now, those were the medium problems. Let's get a little bit harder. So here are the most difficult problems that we're going to have. Let's see if you can press pause and see if you can get some of these done. A lot of it, if you haven't realized it, is going to require some pretty intense knowledge of square roots. So press pause and let's see what we can do. So for that first one, across from 145 side is 5 root 6. Across from the other 45 side is also 5 root 6. To get from the 45 side to the 90 side, we multiply it by root 2. Here's my work. 5 root 6 times root 2 is 5 root 12. And simplify it, it breaks down into 4 times 3. The square root of 4 is 2, which joins that 5 outside to make 10 root 3. For my second one, we have a problem starting off. My 30 side is not simplified, so let's start with that. That breaks into 4 times 2. The square root of 4 is 2. Multiplied by the 11 is 22 root 2. Now, that's what we actually want to use. We want to use the 22 root 2. And let's manipulate it from there. To get from my 30 side to my 60 side, we're going to times it by root 3. 22 root 2 times root 3 is going to be 22 root 6. And back to the 30 side. To get from my 30 side to my 90 side, I double it. 22 root 2 times 2 is 44 root 2. And there's our answers. For our next one, we need that 30 side first. So here we go. To get from my 90 side to my 30 side, we divide it by 2. That's going to give me 7.5 root 5. And to get from my 30 side over to my 60 side, I'm going to multiply it by root 3. 7.5 root 5 times root 3 is 7.5 root 15. Root 15 does not break apart, so we're going to leave it. For my fourth one, again we need those 45 sides. And we think, how do we move it? To get from 45 to 90, we times it by root 2, so we're going to do the reverse. 4 root 3 divided by root 2, clean that up, multiply root 2 to top and bottom. That gives me 4 root 6 over root 4. Root 4 is a perfect 2, and compare those outside numbers. 4 divided by 2 is going to give me 2 root 6. If across from one 45 is 2 root 6, across from my other 45 is 2 root 6 as well. And my last one, we got to know that 30 side first, so x is my priority here. To go from my 30 side to my 60 side, I times it by root 3, so we're going to go in reverse. Divided by root 3. So here we go. Can't leave it like that. Multiply root 3 to the top and bottom. That gives me 7 root 3 over root 9. Square root of 9 is a perfect 3. You can either write that as 2 1/3 root 3, or leave it 7 root 3 over 3. You cannot write a decimal for that because it's a repeating decimal. I'm going to leave it as 7 root 3 over 3. That's the method I prefer. Again, 2 1/3 root 3 is just as good. Now, to get from my 30 side to my 90 side, I want to double that. So 7 root 3 over 3 times 2. The times 2 just goes to the top because 2 is actually 2 over 1. And tops times tops, bottoms times bottoms. That gives me 14 root 3 over 3 for my y side. Hopefully we did okay on this, and we'll practice a little bit more tomorrow. Commonly asked question is, how do you know you're right? One thing you can do is make sure you're using parentheses, especially when you're doing things like dividing. Here, if I want to do 4 root 3 divided by root 2, I would put a big parenthesis around the top, remembering as soon as you hit the square root button, a parenthesis is going to pop up. 2 opens, so 2 closes. And then divide by root 2, and write down what that decimal is. Plug in what 2 square root 6 is, and make sure the decimals are going to match up. That's what I would recommend if you're going to be checking your work on this. So here's our homework answers. Again, our homework for day 1 is going to be out of the book, numbers 1 through 11. Day 2 is going to be a worksheet. If you have any questions, as always, make sure you bring it to class tomorrow. And as always, have a good one.